Morning, Joey J. Ping here with Respect My Region. We are on the first episode of the Monday Morning Joint. Today, I am joined by my head editor, Hannah Gershowitz. I'm going to be breaking down news. She's going to be breaking down some news. She's going to be talking about the emerging markets here in about 10-15 minutes. I'm going to be breaking down some trending and curated news from the world of music and cannabis. Hannah, I'm going to go ahead and get you off the screen, and we're going to dive right in. Are you ready?
Sounds good.
Let's go. All right, you guys. So the first things first, got to light the Monday morning joint. I hope you guys are having a great and splendid day. Let me get this joint rocking. Big shout out to Mad Mark Farms out of Washington State. Mad Mark, known for boutique cannabis, indoor grown cannabis, craft cannabis. He's also a crazy motherfucker. So you guys better tap in. And if you ever make it to Washington, check it out. All right. So first story of the day that I've got to talk about is going to be about how cannabis stocks were down in the year 2021. So I've got some opportunity or bag holding the negative trend in cannabis for cannabis stocks in 2021. So this article available on respectmyregion.com. Make sure you guys slide over to the site, go check it out. Oh man, this joint is starting to hit. Here we go. I'm only going to read through 3, maybe 4 articles here to start the morning, and then Hannah's going to dive right in. So without further ado, cannabis stocks in 2021, the negative trend, and maybe some stocks that are worth investing in for 2022. So first of all, many of the stocks in 2021 lost over 50% of their price. So you really want to dive into what stocks are good, what stocks are bad, the trends, the ups and the downs, and what factors are really diving into some of these decreased share prices. So one of the factors, or the alleged factors that really comes in, is that legalization really had a big effect on stocks overall. You had states legalizing, you had states changing the rules, you had an influx of cannabis shifting the economy and shifting the market, and that ultimately led to decreases in the stock market. People had less confidence overall, and that honestly leads to big dips and big changes across the board. Some of the cannabis companies with decreased share prices include Tilray, Curaleaf, and of course Cronos. So if you guys are familiar, Curaleaf, some of the biggest in the United States as well as North America, and obviously Tilray and Cronos, big Canadian money. So there's a lot of really good stuff there. Make sure you guys go visit respectmyregion.com. Go learn about some of the decreased share prices in those 3. Those are huge holding companies. So make sure you guys go check that out. A lot of people have a lot of money invested in that. I really encourage you guys to dive in and check that out. Again, the economy, legislative changes, really contributing to decreased share prices. I want you guys to go check that out. Now, a real quick one, this article coming out of greenentrepreneur.com, stocks to watch in 2022. So we talked about 3 that are on the dip. Let's talk about a couple that are on the up and up. So according to greenentrepreneur.com, there's a lot of really good pot stocks that are out there at the end of the day. You've got Trulieve, who's continuing to dominate Florida, unfortunately. And then you've got, again, Cresco Labs. They're coming in hot. You see them all over the West Coast. I reviewed their product coming out of Illinois, and they're continuing to expand across the continent. There's just a lot of really big opportunity with Cresco. At the end of the day, they're, at least in my opinion, they are delivering a quality product, but it's just not the best of the best. So definitely worth checking out. Insider perspective, they got good weed a little bit here and there. Up next, we've got Planet 13. So Planet 13 recently opened a dispensary in Orange County, right? The OC. It looks like the Las Vegas store. It's a little bit less impressive, a little more underwhelming, but it's a really quality experience. It's hard to get a whole vertically integrated showroom, side room, businesses operating, all going at the same time. But Planet 13 has been able to deliver a quality experience from Las Vegas all the way here to California. And so a couple good stocks to consider: Trulieve, Cresco, Planet 13. Stocks that are on the dip: Curaleaf, Tilray, and Cronos. So why? Legislation. Make sure you guys pay close attention to the actual quality of the products coming from these brands. Make sure you pay close attention so that you're not just preparing for a pump and dump. You guys want to be a part of a strong story, a strong brand. Now, this is a story that our team, big shout out to Hannah for putting this topic together. but we really wanted to help people get a better understanding of how to smoke weed with other people during COVID this year. Obviously, we just had 2 years of COVID. It was unique. We were figuring it out. The last couple of weeks, everybody's been getting sick. So now, we're not going to stop smoking weed, right? We're not going to stop smoking cannabis. So how do we safely consume weed in a group setting? How do we safely consume weed with other people, right? So I am just going to read this article straight from the get. So here's some perspective. Now, obviously, I'm not a scientist. Neither are my teammates. So if you feel that this is scientifically inaccurate, send us a DM. COVID-19 spreads in 3 ways: breathing in air when close to an infected person, the virus landing on the eyes, nose, or mouth, and touching eyes, nose, or mouth with hands that have the virus on them. Okay. To prevent you from getting sick, bring your own cannabis, bring your own piece, bring your own joint, and just smoke by yourself. Additionally, avoid sharing anything you really put your lips on or touch. So I know for me personally, when I'm out in public, I'm smoking a joint, I roll up, nothing too crazy is going on. But when someone passes me a joint, I typically say no. And if the occasion arises where I'm like, I want to smoke their weed because it looks fire or it smells like really damn, like I got to get on this, I go like this. I hold the joint here and I wrap it in my hand and I create an air funnel here. And if this joint was better lit, it would have ripped. The airflow when I smoke this is crazy. Still not ripping. Not sure what's going on. But yeah, ideally, that's the method that I use to smoke weed when I'm in public. Shout out to Wayne, Mother Nature's Remedy. You know what I'm saying? He taught me that method. It protected me up until December, and then I got hit with the vid. So when people are coughing on that fat rip they just took, they could also be putting germs in the air. So you do want to remember that socially distancing does actually play a role. It plays an even bigger factor when you're inside. If you are too close to someone and they're coughing and hacking all over the place, they're blowing their smoke, they're blowing their vape stuff all over the place, you're bound to get those little droplets of COVID right up in your grill. You just don't want that. So a cough can travel as fast as 50 miles per hour and expel almost 3,000 droplets into the air. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting how gross humans are at the end of the day. Make sure you guys just keep yourself with the freaking mask on. And if you're smoking, just stand a little farther apart and try not to be downwind. Any guy that's ever peed upwind on a mountain knows that shit blows right onto you. Downwind, don't be downwind of these people coughing. It's going to go right into your face. All right. So spread yourself out. Always cough. If you need to cough, if you need to sneeze, into the elbow. Come on, man. Where's your manners? How are y'all raised? This is a problem with our generation is we don't got no manners. Parents weren't there or they just chose not to be there or whatever, and nobody gave you guys freaking manners. Don't act like you live on a farm or in a barn or raised in a barn or whatever the phrase is. Cough into your damn arms. Go like this, cough and sneeze. Don't be blowing your shit all over the place. Y'all are nasty. Nasty, nasty, nasty. All right. Now, where can you smoke? Now, in most places where weed is legal, you can smoke legally in your home, unless you're renting. And then, of course, that is dictated by your landlord, your apartment complex, your homeowners association, however that works. So sometimes you may be smoking and there are other people around that are not smoking. The best thing to do would be to step outside. Be polite. Every time I blow smoke out, droplets of dirtiness, okay? And even though I'm clean and I'm safe and boosted and vaxxed and all this craziness, I'm still spreading germs. And so I want to make sure that you guys get that. Just go outside if there are people around you that don't smoke. You don't need to suffocate someone and hotbox them in with your thousands and thousands of droplets of just dirtiness. Whether you blow the smoke out or top of the window, people are going to assume that like if you're in the room, it's like, you were given permission. Just, again, be polite. Act like you've got some manners, okay? Nothing too crazy there. So there's just some couple quick tips about how to smoke safely with others. Please be considerate. People do really die from this disease, their sickness or whatever the terminology is. So regardless of your political beliefs or vaccination beliefs or your health, if you think you're good, just try to be considerate of other people. And that's where I'm going to end on for that one. Now, this show, Morning Joint, is not just cannabis. I started off with cannabis news. Now we're going to get over to the music. For those that follow Respect My Region, you guys can see first thing over here, music. rap and hip hop. So I'm going to dive into a couple pieces of news, just real quick, real briefly. We've got some really exciting updates coming out of Coachella. Coachella being one of the largest music festivals in the country, located in the Coachella Valley out near Palm Springs and Indio. It's in this cool valley. It's a desert. Those wind things that turn and shit. Just a bunch of cool stuff in Coachella. I love it. Recently was out there in the winter, and it actually gets kind of cold too. So even though it's in the desert, it gets cold. Coachella returns to the California desert in 2022 with Kanye, Flume, 21 Savage, and more. I'm going to read through just a couple of the names that are also on this list. Headliners: Harry Styles, Lil Baby, Daniel Caesar, Phoebe Bridgers, Big Sean, Grape Firme, I think I said that right, or Firm, Louis the Child, and Baby Keem. Big shout out to Baby Keem, man, on the coming up. Let's go. We also got Flume, Megan Thee Stallion, Disclosure, 21 Savage, Danny Elfman, Stromae, Giveon, and Anita. We've got Kanye, who again changed his name to Ye. So difficult. Doja Cat, Joji, Jamie XX, Run the Jewels, Carol G, Maggie Rogers, Ari Lennox, and Banda MS. There's also a ton of other artists such as Slander, Denzel Curry. I'm seeing Isaiah Rashad. I'm seeing the City Girls. I'm seeing Carly Rae Jepsen. There are so many good artists on this lineup that it is truly a no-brainer. But it looks like this year, some of the policies for tickets and press and a bunch of different things have changed for Coachella compared to years past. And so make sure you guys go visit their website, tap in, get there early. Don't be late. Get your tickets, get your places to stay, get everything you need figured out. Okay. Now, the next story that we've got that Respect My Region, we just published this one, is the origin of the Wu. RIP to Pop Smoke and his entire network of affiliate Wu members out there in New York. What is the Wu? How did it start? Why is it so popular? Right? Pop Smoke was truly iconic. Truly iconic. Super young, iconic in his voice and what he spoke about and what he stand for. His business mindset, his savvy, truly something different. If you're a fan of hip hop, then you've probably heard of the Wu, a popularized term that first rose to mainstream slang prominence in 2019 with the late Pop Smoke's mixtape, Meet the Wu. Influenced by the unique melodies inspired by UK drill beats, this new energy is still undoubtedly taking over. Wu originates in Brooklyn as a gang consisting of both Blood and Crip sets. In recent years, it has been popularized in the mainstream by rappers such as Pop Smoke and 5 Foreign. Wu goes a lot deeper than that. In an interview posted on Rap Century's Twitter, Pop Smoke explained further what the Wu is, describing it as the vibe you give off or wanting to look nice. It's just an energy that some people have, sort of a natural drip almost. Again, it's a confidence, it's a swag. We all got a version of it. Sometimes it's just on level 0.1, or sometimes it can be on level 1 million. Pop Smoke lived every moment of his life on level 1 million. You know what I'm saying? The Wu movement has left a noticeable impact on hip-hop culture, especially since Pop Smoke's passing. With more and more rappers trying to fill the void left by the duo rapper, the legacy is strongest nowhere else than in his home borough of Brooklyn, New York. So if you guys look up the Wu, look up Brooklyn, there's a lot of really great information about Pop Smoke, 5 Foreign, and a lot of other rappers. And so without further ado, I just want to go ahead and just share some quick information about the Wu, get that out there. And last but not least, for me, the last story that I'm going to cover, y'all, we got the Super Bowl coming up. My Raiders, they just got bumped out the playoffs. It was we tried, we did our thing. We should have never been in the playoffs because of how inconsistent the Raiders are, but we got in. I don't know who's going to get to the Super Bowl because I haven't been following football and sports the way that I used to as a real Raider super fan. And for that, I apologize, Raider Nation. I know I'm an embarrassment. But this year's Super Bowl has incredible performers. So I just wanted to dive in real quick. The NFL and Rock Nation, they partnered. The NFL and Jay-Z made that announcement a hot minute ago. They've collaborated to now we've got Dr. Dre, we got Snoop Dogg, we got Eminem, we got Mary J. Blige, and we got Kendrick Lamar all on a Super Bowl lineup. For me, in the last 20 years of really enjoying rap and hip hop, this is one of the best lineups that has ever had. I like Justin Timberlake. I like Usher. I like Whitney Houston. Give me all the greats. Give me all of the greats. But I think Ariana Grande has been on there. Ed Sheeran, I think all these big pop people have been on it. Like, this right here, for me and my people, this is what we want. So big shout out to the NFL. Big shout out to, Rock Nation for collaborating and getting this set up. I really appreciate it. Now, coming up next, I've got Respect My Region's head editor. I'm gonna bring her back on here in about 5 seconds. She's gonna talk about some news in emerging markets, specifically cannabis, psilocybin, and over the course of the rest of the year, we'll dive into other topics. And so, Respect My Region's head editor, Hannah Gershowitz, back on the beat. Hannah, I'm gonna go ahead and turn my
everybody.
tab off, and we're gonna let you get into it.
Cool.
All right, here we go.
Hello, Anna Gershowitz with Respect My Region here. I'm here to cover markets in hip hop, cannabis, and psychedelics. So I'm going to start with hip hop just because it kind of ties together with what Joey was talking about. So I'm going to cover some of the emerging Brooklyn rappers right now that are kind of, just making big moves last year and going into this year. They're just definitely poised for major success in 2022. So without further ado, artists that you should definitely keep an eye on that are located over in Brooklyn, New York. And a lot of these guys are in the Wu movement, not all of them, but I'll go over that. So first up, we have Young Litto, which I hope I said that right. Young Litto. He's affiliated with Troy Ave in the B Money B crew. He has some popular songs such as Glow, that is a fan favorite that you might have heard of if you know who he is. Next up is Dreadwoo, which is a part of that Wu movement. Up there with Pop Smoke, who's taken a lot of influence from him. So you'll definitely hear some elements in his music that you may have heard in Pop Smoke's music as well. Next up is Sapo Floss. He was a little quiet in 2021, but he dropped 2 big projects in 2020. So we're just hoping that he's working on some stuff, in the past year, and that he's hopefully coming back in 2022 better than ever. His music is, as Isaiah describes it, his latest track, Family Feud, features a nasty sample that Sapo makes his own, attacking the anthemic beat with a tireless aggression. So if you guys are a fan of like a little more aggressive flows, then Sapo Floss is definitely worth checking out. Next up is MIS Ron. He's definitely one of the more outspoken artists on this list and in Brooklyn hip hop in general. He actually made an Instagram video showing a bunch of other rappers that he thinks are trash, which is definitely a really bold move. You definitely should keep an eye out. But for someone that's so outspoken, he's still a great guy that has great potential, great music. A lot of people seem to love him, and even though he can be a little controversial, it doesn't seem to be too much of a problem for his success at this current moment. Next up is Kweli Wu, who is also a part of that Wu movement, taking inspiration from Pop Smoke. So let's see a little more about him. So yeah, just like Joey was saying, like that Wu energy, it's just about having that confidence. And all these guys in this, this Wu hip hop movement, they do have that confidence. And especially since Pop Smoke died, they're just going above and beyond to, continue his legacy, which is awesome to see. Next up, we have Cocaine. He's one of the more popular Brooklyn rappers. So if you've not heard of anyone on this list, like you may have heard of him. And this is because it has just very striking similarities to Pop Smoke between his tone, his flow, even his ad libs. There was a lot of rumors circulating online that they're cousins or related, but he cleared those up, and Dusty says that they're not related, and he's not trying to take Pop Smoke's death to help him, come up. He totally respects Pop Smoke, and they were actually friends, and he's very upset that he's gone, and he's still doing everything he can to pay homage to his late friend, so that's great to see that he's on that legacy. But yeah, that's 6 Brooklyn rappers worth keeping on, a lot of them in that Wu movement. So it's definitely, New York City always has some of the hottest up and coming rappers right now, so stay tuned. We're going to be up and coming rappers from the New York City area, in this like the Bronx and Staten Island and such. So keep an eye out on that. That article on the Brooklyn rappers is on our website, so tap in if you're looking to learn more. We've covered so many different areas, so if you're interested in any, emerging hip hop markets in any different area, definitely tap into it. Yeah, so moving on to cannabis markets. So took a look through this super thorough marijuana moment thread. Shout out to them, or article, not thread. But they went super in depth about a lot of the states and what it's looking like for legalization for both cannabis and psychedelics. So I'm just going to go over almost a dozen states for cannabis and a few states for psychedelics and just kind of summarize what's going on there. So starting with cannabis, we got Arkansas. There's multiple groups of activists and politicians that are working hard to get cannabis legalization on the 2022 ballot. This includes the Arkansans for Marijuana Reform, Eddie Armstrong, Democrat and former member of the House of Reps. And he's leading the Responsible Growth Arkansas. And then there's also the Arkansas True Grass that are all working hard. So show your support if you're over there in Arkansas. And then we got Delaware. They have efforts to legalize recreational adult, or their efforts to legalize recreational adult use cannabis was shot down in 2021, unfortunately. But the politicians, such as Representative Edward Ozinski, which is a Democrat, has been working hard to revise the bill, and he actually just recently filed the new bill. So, cross your fingers, Delawareans. And then moving on to Hawaii. So a Hawaii bill to legalize recreational marijuana that cleared the Senate last is actually still alive for the 2022 session. So things are looking up. It's possible that the legislator will move to take it up again. And just the reason that this didn't advance last year is because the lawmakers believed that they wanted to kind of perfect the medical cannabis program and improve it before implementing recreational cannabis. That's reasonable. But we're hoping to see that recreational cannabis over in Hawaii this year. Next up is Idaho, which has proved to be a difficult state for cannabis and other substances. So things aren't looking too bright for the Idaho citizens that are looking for legal cannabis in their home state, unfortunately. One group of advocates has temporarily suspended their campaign, saying that it's due to COVID. That's kind of put things up in the air for them, makes things a little difficult. However, Kind Idaho, which is an organization, they're continuing to collect signatures for their ballot, though currently it's only received 10% of what's needed so far. So it's not really looking too hopeful, but if you're over there in Idaho or around there, definitely advocate, sign that ballot, do what you can. So for Kansas, a medical cannabis bill that passed last year in the House is still alive and poised for action in the Senate in 2022. However, Democratic leaders in Kansas are pushing even further, proposing to let voters decide on legalizing medical and adult use cannabis. So currently, they were just kind of looking at the medical cannabis, but now the Democratic leaders are like, no, let's let the people choose if they want just medical or if they want recreational adult use or both. So, excited to see where that goes. Next up, we got Kentucky. So a Republican-led bill to legalize medical marijuana in Kentucky landed in the state legislature this month, and Democratic lead priority this year. So it kind of sounds very hopeful for Kentucky to legalize cannabis this year, as they are making it their top priority. But there wasn't too much other information on what's going on there, so we'll see. Next up is Maryland, which, being next to DC, where, cannabis is legalized, this is definitely been talked about a lot of if Maryland is going to be next up. So late last month, a top Maryland lawmaker pre-filed a bill to put marijuana legalization on the state's 2022 ballot. This has been designated as a House Bill 1, meaning it is very high priority, which is, great news. So it is likely that cannabis could be legalized in 2022 in Maryland. So keep an eye out, Marylanders. Next up is Minnesota. So in 2021, Minnesota saw a bill to legalize cannabis. My mom's calling. In 2022, Minnesota saw a bill to legalize cannabis move through a dozen houses and then get approved in the chamber. However, it then stalled in the state. But lawmakers are ready to pick it back up again and fight for the legalization of marijuana in the state. So even though things took a step backwards, it looks like that step backwards is kind of inspiring people to move forward faster and prioritize it. Next up, we have Mississippi, Sorry, my mom kind of threw me on that call. Okay. So for Mississippi lawmakers are moving ahead with a proposal to legalize medical cannabis in the state. The Senate has already approved the new bill just days into the new session, and now it heads to the House. So Mississippi is also looking hopeful for 2022. Um, House and Senate leaders announced in September that they have come to an agreement on the reform, yet the governor came back with several objections, forcing legislators to go back and make some compromises. So although it's been like a bumpy road, they're working on it and they're kind of prioritizing that. So, it is still the South, so it's kind of up in the air with all those southern states. But we can only keep an eye out and see what's going to happen. Next up, we have Missouri, and this is the last of what I'm going to cover for the cannabis emerging markets. So Missouri, there's currently two separate campaigns working to put legalization on the ballot in 2022, and that is the Legal Missouri 2022 and the Fair Access Missouri. So if you're in Missouri and you want cannabis legalized, make sure you tap in with those groups and see what you can do to help make it possible. So that's about a dozen emerging markets for cannabis. And now I'm going to go over some stuff that's going on psychedelic legalization, also from that same marijuana moment article. So starting with California, Senator Scott Weiner is spearheading a legislative approach and says he believes there's a 50-50 chance that his bill will advance. Additionally, Decriminalize California is collecting signatures for the 2020 initiative to legalize psilocybin mushrooms. So it looks like California is kind of headed in that direction to not just decriminalize psilocybin mushrooms, but actually legalize them. So what that fully entails, I'm kind of unsure if that will entail just legalizing them or if that entail legalizing cultivation and therapy facilities and stuff like that. So that's still unknown, but it's still looking hopeful that's going to be some sort of legalization for psychedelics, especially psilocybin mushrooms in California in 2022. Next up, we have Colorado. So, Colorado, Denver already saw the decriminalization of psilocybin mushrooms. So, this is definitely a state that is hopeful for this kind of stuff. So Colorado may see a chance next year to vote on legalizing possession and personal cultivation of psychedelics. So this means that not only could they possess them, but they could also cultivate them, which is a huge step and unheard of so far in this country. Additionally, this could also include creating a system of licensed businesses to produce psilocybin, DMT, ibogaine, and mescaline for supervised use at healing centers. So this is huge. There's been so much studies about psilocybin and other psychedelics, helping with mental illnesses such as PTSD, anxiety, and depression. And there's different clinics that are around the world that do use these for therapy. But it's not legal everywhere. So even though it's been shown to have benefits, it's not very accessible for people that are in need of this kind of therapy. So it's great to see that Colorado is working to not only legalize these substances, but also put in a system so that licensed businesses can produce these substances, so then licensed healing centers can use them to help others. So that's really exciting to see. Really crossing our fingers with that one. And then next up is Michigan. So several major cities in Michigan have already decriminalized psychedelics, including Grand Rapids, and Detroit. So building upon that, a bill was introduced last September to legalize the possession, cultivation, and delivery of various plants and fungi-derived psychedelics such as psilocybin and mescaline. So it's not looking like, Colorado, how they're trying to set up a whole system for businesses and healing centers and stuff. It's not quite looking like that, but it's still a step in the right direction to, legalize the possession and even the cultivation. So, that's great news. So, yeah, that's kind of all I have on those emerging markets for cannabis and psychedelics. Next up, I just wanted to touch a little bit on just how there's more Oklahoma marijuana than anywhere else in the United States. This is an article that um, our founder Mitch put together, kind of just going over the Oklahoma market and everything, why it's so oversaturated. So just kind of opening this article. and looking into it, so Oklahoma has over 2,000 licensed medical marijuana dispensaries, um, which is, compared to places like Florida, who has a great medical marijuana program. We have nowhere near 2,000 licensed dispensaries, and we're a huge populated state. We're probably almost close to maybe even 300 by now, and every city you go to in Florida, you're gonna find a bunch of dispensaries. So, being there and seeing all those dispensaries, I can only imagine, 2,000 being in one state such as Oklahoma. And only approximately 10% of Oklahoma's 4 million residents are medical card holders. So it's kind of just, it's not balancing out quite well. There's kind of just too much cannabis, too many dispensaries for the amount of medical patients. So hopefully, in this year, either more medical patients will start popping up, or maybe Oklahoma will kind of see this and kind of move towards recreational. So some of these dispensaries can be used for both medical and recreational, and then more citizens of Oklahoma will be able to purchase cannabis, and there may not be so much of an oversaturation if that happens. So kind of looking to see what Oklahoma does with that. Um, and then, yeah, another article I wanted to just go over quickly with is actually by NBC News, which I just came across and just thought was really interesting. Is the craft cannabis industry in, so this is the title: the craft cannabis industry in California is on the brink of collapse. Advocates say small cannabis growers and operators say the state's hefty taxes are shutting them out, despite promises to expand the industry and make it more inclusive. So it kind of looks like, since California is kind of has such an, I guess, more of an open market for new cannabis businesses to get involved with, is that there's so much new businesses coming in that these smaller growers are having trouble competing and keeping up. And also the tax system seems to be one of the main problems. Is just too much taxes that they pay is making them struggle to stay afloat. So that's really unfortunate to hear, because these craft cannabis businesses, some of the smaller boutique ones, can hold some of the most quality products that have like the most meticulous care. So, we're hoping to see maybe some changes in that, in the tax system, or just some changes in the market that can help these small companies still continue to grow, rather than, maybe shutting down, or whatever the case could be. So yeah, if you're, looking at California, make sure you still take a look at some of those smaller companies and not just go for those big brands all the time, because they need your support too. But yeah, that is all I have for some news, some cannabis, psychedelic, and hip hop news today. Um, yeah, Joey will hop back in here to close us out, and yeah.
We go. There we go. There we go. All right, everybody. That was the first episode of the Monday Morning Joint, featuring myself, Joey J. Ping, and Hannah Gershowitz, our head editor at respectmyregion.com. We really appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity and supporting us over the last decade. As we enter and go through the rest of the year, it's going to be in a very exciting time. We've got a lot of shows coming up that are launching. We've got Blunt Talk with Taylor Hart, High Rappers with Isaiah Lilly. Morning Joint here every Monday. The official RMR podcast on Tuesdays with Mitch. We've got Higher Women with our assistant editor, Maddie Forbes, starting this Wednesday. Thursdays, I will be doing the Better Bud Tenders. So any bud tenders that want to be featured, please, reach out, nominate people. Every episode that you guys see, just, know that we're not nominate someone. We want to be interviewing and featuring bud tenders and telling their stories. What do we got? Friday, High Rappers. Saturday. Saturdays, non-fungible terps, everything NFTs, crypto, DeFi, metaverse, everything that a lot of people know nothing about. So definitely tap in. Myself, Justin Casillo, Chris Tie-Dye Toker making appearances. Shout out to Tie-Dye Toker, man. Chris getting it in. Everybody, thank you again. Like, follow, subscribe. This show is available on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and it will soon be on more places. So definitely tap in, and shout out LinkedIn. Y'all get it in. All right, everybody. Hannah, thank you. I'll see you all next week.
Thank you. Bye, guys.